Ladies and gentlemen, invited guests, especially students, faculty from 19 leading universities of Bangladesh. Especially students, faculty from 19 leading universities of Bangladesh, members of Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce and Industry, past presidents of MCCI, my fellow MCCI committee members, our distinguished moderator, Dr. Mohammad Farashuddin, our keynote speaker, Dr. Zaid Hassan from Princeton, and Mrs. Hassan. On behalf of MCCI, I welcome you to our Youth Dialogue 2015 as we celebrate 111 years of existence. I would like to recollect here with deep respect late APG Abdul Kalam, former President of India, who last year inspired us to reconnect with youth as a means to ensure the future of our humanity. The keynote speech today is on education and scientific innovation as pathways to a poverty-free future. And I would like to take this opportunity to speak a little bit about innovation in industry in Bangladesh. Possibly not everybody in this room is aware that the birth of our chamber, MCCI, itself was an innovation way back in 1904. By the end of the 19th century, most countries in Asia had adopted the concept of chambers of commerce from Western countries and adapted them to local conditions. In the Indian subcontinent, British traders were the first to organize chambers of commerce. In 1833, the Calcutta Chamber of Commerce, and in 1853, the Bengal Chamber of Commerce was set up in the eastern part of India, mainly Kolkata. In 1903, when the partition of Bengal was proposed and both British and local businesses felt the need for a separate chamber of commerce, the British government at that time established what was known as the Department of Industries in 1904 to handle the industrial and commercial development of this part of Bengal. The development led to the creation in 1904 of the Narayanganj Chamber of Commerce, which is how this chamber was born. And it was only as late as the late 1980s that we renamed ourselves as the Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Dhaka. From that day on, our members have endeavored to foster the spirit of innovation and to continue to create wealth and value in our society for all members of society. And I would like to take this opportunity to tell you about a few of these examples. Pubali Jute Mills, and we are proud here to have Mr. Kamranti Rahman, successfully developed their own rot delaying process technology in the early 90s with the help of technical experts at the Bangladesh Textile Engineering College, Bangladesh Jute Research Institute, and the Bangladesh Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, which has now been replicated in other enterprises. Desh Garments, also a member of MCCI, one of the pioneers in the RMG sector, at the very beginning sent off batches of managerial staff and workers to train in the factories in Korea to learn industrial RMG production practices. This exposure was needed to upscale what was a tailoring operation to an industrial powerhouse that is today the second largest RMG production base in the world. The Bcash initiative of BRAC Bank Limited, supported by the International Finance Corporation of the World Bank Group, is a global success today in money transfer using mobile telephony. Companies such as ACI, Pran, Square, and Transcom have blazed the path for local brands and showed how local knowledge and global best practices could beat global brands in distribution, manufacturing, marketing, and branding. Corporations like Renata and ACI, also proud members of MCCI, have developed eggs fortified with omega-3 and vitamin A as a result of biotechnology. Renata and Ispahani have developed special varieties of rice with low glycemic index appropriate for the diabetic population of Bangladesh. Our nation has produced and continues to produce many world-class innovators and thinkers, like Dr. M.H. Mondol, the founding Director General of the Bangladesh Agricultural Research Institute, otherwise known as BARI, the scientist who helped develop the famous high-yielding varieties of rice such as BR28 and 29, which have helped make Bangladesh self-sufficient in rice production. Dr. Maqsoodul Alam, who is credited with mapping the genome sequence of papaya, rubber, jute, and fungus, unleashing great commercial opportunities in biotech engineering and product innovation. In the field of public health, Dr. Mohammad Zubair Chishti, now working at ICDDRB, has been recognized internationally for his pioneering work in treating pneumonia at low cost. And of course, we all know about Dr. Muhammad Yunus and Sir Fazli Hassan Abid, who have been recognized locally and internationally for totally disruptive thinking on how to alleviate poverty and create human respect and dignity for millions of our population. I mention all this to highlight that our country does have a track record of innovative thinking, from the leaders and captains of our industry to our brilliant academics and teachers to our NGOs and development practitioners. Today, this evening, we are delighted to have amongst us such a thinker, Dr. M. Zahid Hassan from Princeton University. From his days in Dhaka, growing up in a room, I was hearing last night, surrounded on 3 sides by books, so that he would learn to think more, to the publication of his first book at the age of 16 years old, called Esho Dhumketu Rajye, to standing first in HSC from Dhaka College, to his 12 years at Stanford. Dr. Hassan is truly a superstar. Welcome, Dr. Hassan. So when Dr. Hassan electrified the world of physics in July of 2015 by discovering the elusive massless quasi-particle, predicted 85 years ago but not discovered up till then, Bangladesh was proud but not surprised. Ladies and gentlemen, what better person to present the keynote at the MCCI Youth Dialogue 2015 tonight than Dr. Zahid Hassan. And to moderate the conversation with Dr. Hassan tonight, we have my extremely dear and respected Dr. Mohammad Farashuddin, one of our most respected and influential economists, civil service, and educationist. Dr. Farashuddin, as all of you know, has served as a governor of the Bangladesh Bank, as well as advisor to the caretaker government, and innumerable other public and private institutions. As a great thinker and a patriot, I thank you, sir, for taking the time to join us this evening. I would like to leave you with one of my favorite thoughts on innovation from a man called Thomas Sachs. And the quotation is up on the screen behind me. And I would like to take 1 minute for our young guests here, especially our young guests here, to take the time to read it. Because I think it encapsulates what we are trying to achieve here tonight. It reads, "If you worship money, you'll always feel poor. I worship innovation, and I always feel like I'm not doing enough new stuff. That's my impulsiveness. Innovate, think outside the box, and don't be afraid to dream." Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. So I would now like to introduce and invite on stage, first of all, our chief guest and keynote speaker, Dr. Zahid Hassan, to please join us on stage. Dr. Zahid Hassan from Princeton. And of course, our moderator, who will take over the evening from tonight, from this instance onward, Dr. Mohammad Farashuddin, sir. Sir, I leave it in your hands.
Wow, what a great honor. Thank you, MCCI, for giving me the honor of moderating this session with one of the outstanding sons of the soil, who at the age of 16 wrote about Dhumketu, made a furore, and again, with the discovery of the particle, massless particle, he created a sensation in the world of the scientists and physicists. Well, he studied in two universities in USA, Texas and Stanford. I would like also to congratulate Mr. and Mrs. Rahmat Ali, the parents of this outstanding son of the soil, and would also like to recognize and congratulate Saira Zahid Hassan, who also studied one of the best universities, MIT, engineering, not at the same time, right? At different times, of course. I would like to say a few things about Bangladesh as well, because this is Bangladesh setting. Because MCCI, one of the research-oriented, optimistic organizations of the country, they project the future in a very positive note. I would like to say that poverty, Bangladesh has almost conquered it. Poverty is in the process of being eliminated from the soil of Bangladesh. Why do I say this? In 1972, we have 80% of 75 million people under the poverty line. That was about 55 million people. Now, only 22 or 23% of the 160 million people are, of course, still languishing under poverty, but on course to remove poverty from the soil of Bangladesh. Why has it been possible? Because of the hard-working people, the peasants, also because Bangladesh was born with an ideology, with a very distinctive ideology that the father of the nation gave us. What is the ideology? A poverty and hunger-free, a shelterlessness-free, a disease-free Bangladesh, which in his language, Dukhi Manusher Mukhe Hashi Futiye Shunar Bangla Goretula. Many of us believe in this and work for that. MCCI presents a very interesting phenomenon to me. We, the older people, like Mr. Rahmat Ali and myself, and maybe some other people, and people like our guest of honor, speaker today, 45 or so year old, in between MCCI, a reasonably young leadership by our age standards, comprising of Syed Nasim Manzoor, one of the brightest stars of the country, and as his companions, the able banker, Anis Ahmed Khan, a bright star by his own right, Nihat Kabir Baretlo, Tabit Awal, one of the most promising entrepreneurs of the country. I say all these things because the theme is education and innovation. As you know, our religion says, go even unto China for in search of knowledge. Why? The Chinese have stated that if you are planning for short term, you plant this, you plant trees, etc. But if you are planning for long term, give education. Because that creates human capital, which sustains through the development process to the prosperity at the ultimate. And here we are to listen to one of the scientists of the caliber, of the highest caliber. People already compare him with many of the Nobel laureates. I know that the Nobel Committee has spoken to him in recent times. I also know that he is being talked about in terms of S.N. Bose, of whom we are very proud, who is a professor of University of Dhaka, of C.V. Raman, of Abdus Salam. So that speaks a ton about him rather than my saying anything. But one thing is, জ্ঞানেতে প্রবীণ তিনি বার্ধক্য বিহনে. He has earned all this education and reputation without being very, very old. I would advise him to speak here by, again, reciting something in Bangla. In the year 1952, when I was a student of class 4, I learned a poem by Shunirmal Boshu. I would like to recite that one, a part of it. আকাশ আমায় শিক্ষা দিল উদার হতে ভাইরে, পাহাড় শিখায় তাহার সমান হই যেন ভাই মৌন মহান। সূর্য আমায় শিক্ষা দিল আপন তেজে জ্বলতে, বায়ু শিখায় সারা বেলা দারুণ বেগে চলতে, বিশ্বজোড়া পাঠশালা মোর সবার আমি ছাত্র। কাজে আজকে এইখানে যে 500 বা 550 ছাত্রছাত্রী উপস্থিত, তারা অত্যন্ত ভাগ্যবান। তারা আধুনিক জগতের একজন জ্ঞানের আলোকবর্তিকা। আমাদের বিশ্বকে, আমাদের বাংলাদেশকে অনেক উপরে নিয়ে যাওয়ার তার পরিকল্পনা আছে। তিনি আমাদেরকে বলবেন, আমরা শুনব, তাকে প্রশ্ন জিজ্ঞেস করব। I invite with a lot of pride a son of the soil, a bright star of Bangladesh firmament, nay, of the world, Professor Hassan.
Thank you, and thank you. I would like to greet you all with peace and tranquility and extend my thank you again to MCCI for taking the initiative to initiate this youth dialogue, which started last year, and it's wonderful to see that this dialogue is being continued, and I get the impression that this is now even getting to the next step, in the sense that it's not just a dialogue, it's going to take us to the next step, how to take the dialogue to action items to build a new poverty-free Bangladesh. So thank you once again for all of you to come. So with that, I would like to get started on the presentation. Can we have it on the screen, please? Okay, thank you. So this is a short version of the title, Education and Scientific Innovations. And the way this presentation is organized and structured is that I will start out with a very broad point of view, keeping the entire development, keeping the whole world, the development throughout the world, and throughout the history in the first part of it, and then focus it down to the pathways for the poverty-free world. So we'll start out very broad from the point of view how we define humanity, because ultimately all these efforts are to serve the humanity and take it to the next level. So what are the civilizational forces that operate among us that led to the development of the civilization? So I would also appreciate somewhat interactive dialogue here, even during my presentation. So I may have a few questions, so feel free to shout back if you could respond. Okay, so the first question is, I'm wondering that who has 98% DNA match with you? Shims, right. So let's take a look. So Shims have about 98% DNA sequence matching with us. So what is the difference between Shims and human beings? So let's try to identify and see. We'll take a look whether that 2% already told us what to do, how to advance our civilization, and what is the next frontier. Okay, so what makes us humans? So one of the things that if you give a pen or pencil to a chimp, you'll go scribble around, but millions of years have passed in the evolutionary track, but they never learned to write meaningful things or even draw a house or a tree, any of that thing. So human beings are distinguished among the early hominids that they can write meaningful things. They can code and communicate that code, right? So that's one of the ways they're different. Another distinguishing factor is that only human beings make tools to make tools. Chimps use tools to get things done sometimes, but they never develop the trait that the idea that they should make tools to make tools. Okay, so that's another way. Only human beings make tools to make tools. The other thing is if you light fire, most of the apes, or all apes or animals, they move away from fire. It's only human beings, these early hominids, who approach the fire, at least some of them, and try to control it, right? So that reflects courage and curiosity. So only human beings, they are willing to sacrifice, they are willing to have some harm to satisfy their curiosity. And the curiosity takes over, so the human beings, the early hominids, they approach fire and try to figure out what that thing is. It's only human beings who approach fire and try to control it. So that reflects the idea that it's curiosity and courage. And then finally, one more item is only human beings have a secondary level of abstract thought. What do I mean by that? Of course, chimps have some sort of communication, but it's not clear. Some of the scientists, like Jane Goodall, a professor at Harvard, she spent 30, 40 years with chimps in Tanzania, and then she figured out all these rules of the game. And over the millions of years, they never learned to do this metaphorical thinking. So how do anthropologists and archaeologists figured out that some early hominids had this secondary thought, in other words, the abstract thought that goes beyond the everyday needs. And in the evolutionary track, it's only like 200,000 years back, it was found that the hominid started to bury their dead. The chimps do not bury their dead, or the gorillas or orangutan. No other animal would bury their dead and have a ritual associated with it. So in roughly around 200,000 years back, some hominids were burying their dead, leaving some pottery inside the grave or even flour. So that means those hominids in the early days, they had this idea that there is something beyond the human body. They had this idea of the soul, that something is being continued. Otherwise, why would they have a burial ritual and leave their pottery in there? So even now, millions of years have passed, no other apes have developed burial rituals. So that is a secondary thought. Now you can see that how that connects to science. So I'm getting there, that when you think that there is some abstract existence within you, and that continues, it's somewhat like a conservation law in physics. We say the energy is conserved, you cannot destroy the total mass or energy of the universe. All of physics, fundamental laws of physics, is based upon that conservation law. And you can see that the early hominids developed that concept of some sort of conservation law in an abstract sense that's even beyond the present-day scientific idea. And of course, they were not trained to do any of that thing. And there is no sign in the animal kingdom, even with the 98% matching of DNA, that the secondary level of abstract thinking. So it turns out the anthropologists and the evolutionary scientists who work with this evolution of hominids, they came up with this idea that these are the traits of human beings. And not only that, so what I will try to argue, that these traits are also fundamental in building a civilization and advancing it. In the next few minutes, as I march through the history of 10,000 years, I will show you that it's all built up on that. Okay? So the abstract thinking or metaphorical thinking, this sense of conservation law, something continues. So what are the civilizational forces then? This writing scripts. Chimps never managed to write meaningful scripts. This is cuneiform or hieroglyphics. And symbolic mathematics, symbolic manipulation. And then engineering and science innovation. When you look at the human beings are making tools to make tools, that means they are doing engineering, right? And when they are doing abstract thinking of conservation law of something, they are thinking of science, metaphorical sense, in a metaphorical sense, something is conserved, right? So the engineering and science innovations are the fundamental to that. This is something only human trait. They make tools to make tools. And then they're self-searching, that they're believing that this life is not the end of it. There is something beyond that. And now, when you start to see the traces of engineering miracles of the ancient world, you see that these concepts are merged. Why did the Egyptians build those pyramids? Because they believed in afterlife. Somebody has to prepare because the soul is not destroyed by death. So the concept of afterlife, this is also in the earliest forms of religion, like Olam Haba in Aramaic or Hebrew. This concept of Olam Haba is tied to this. You can see that these two concepts were combined, that you're making tools to make tools, engineering, science, innovation, and you're searching for yourself, what is the meaning of life. And there is no trace after trying the chimps for many, many years, for 20, 30, 40 years, you can lecture to them, but they never ask back any question. You can train them to do even maybe a little bit of math or logical thinking, but they never ask you a question that is of metaphorical type. So the self-searching mind is a sign of humanity, it's human civilizational force. So self-searching mind, philosophy, and these why questions. So these are the civilizational forces, and they can be anthropologically, biologically traced. Okay? So now we see, as we march forward, see what happens. So who is this? Any taker? Yes? Edison, right? So what did Edison do? Yeah, he was one of the greatest inventors of relatively recent times, right? So it's not near the pyramids. So, a number of people around that time, they invented this light bulb. They lighted the whole world. Otherwise, we would be in complete darkness, right? So we would not be having this session now. The world was dark, and they lighted their invention of their effort for only 10 or 15 years. It just changed the whole world. It extended the work hours for the entire humanity. The civilization has progressed. So only 10 years of effort of some inventor in a dark, damp laboratory changed the face of the world. It lighted the whole world. Okay? So this is the power of invention. So who is this? There's Louis Pasteur, right? So before Louis, people used to do witch doctoring and all sorts of magical things to cure disease. So Louis figured out that there is a physical basis behind disease. It's not gene possessing you or spirits going inside you that's making you sick. So he figured out there is these microscopic organisms, they cause disease, right? And then he targeted those organisms to cure you. So how many lives do you think he has saved by now? Billions and billions and billions. It's only 10 years effort again in a dark, damp laboratory that changed the face of the world in the sense that it just saved billions and billions of human beings from dying, right? Who is this? Yeah, okay. So what did he do? So he wrote down, he scribbled something, unlike the monkey or the chimp, right? It's not clear what he did. He changed the way we think about the universe. Before Einstein, we used to think universe is eternal, infinite, and it doesn't change. It existed forever. It will never disappear. It's static. He changed the way we view the entire universe, far away, far away from here. And he changed the way we think of infinities. So now we think infinities are in some way finite. So the universe is finite and expanding in a non-space background. So only, again, a few years of work in a dark, damp apartment in Berlin, he changed the way we think about the whole world. Our worldview has changed. Who is she? This is Rosalind Franklin. She was working in a chemistry lab, and she figured out the secret of life. She was the first person to have a combined chemistry and crystallography to get a feel for the shape of the DNA. She did not quite get to the double helix. That came a bit later with two physicists, Watson and Crick. But unfortunately, she died before the Nobel Prize was given for that work. But she's the one who initiated that work. And so what did that have? I mean, what did that do for us? She had the secret of life. So that's another big thing. We think about the origin of the universe, and in one end, the other end, we think, what is the secret of life? How does the body work? She figured out how the chemistry of DNA, how DNA is coding and uncoding the body. What is its chemical structure for that? So again, that just revolutionized the way we design drug or treat disease or do engineering at the genetic level. Okay, so these inventions, they just changed the way we think about. Not only just we think about the nature and the universe, it just had enormous impact. It's all over us. It has taken us to a new frontier. So this is the general idea, the general trait of scientific inventions, that it will advance the knowledge frontier, Einstein, for example, and that would work as precursor to technology. That advanced knowledge frontier will give us new technology, and in the way it will serve humanity at large. And perhaps most importantly, science is the universal common language for us. For example, if you are into politics or religion or philosophy, those things you never agree on anything. Science is one of the things, when scientists agree on something, the whole world agrees on that. There's no debate or doubt. So science has that aspect in it, that it has the potential to it has the potential to serve humanity in another direction. If you apply the scientific method to all other spheres and endeavors of life, this creates a pathway for unity, because the scientific method is the only thing I know for thousands of years people agree on. So because there is a way to sort out the truth, and you have a feedback loop to establish the truth. So for that reason, the scientific mindset human beings have developed, or scientific methodologies have developed, it has that methodology has potential beyond science itself. So this is what I will be focusing on for the rest of the presentations. So let me give you how science has had impact beyond some immediate things, in the sense that the other human endeavors I have mentioned, like say in terms of politics and religion or economics. So I'll pick a few examples of that. In the late 1800s, people started to build drills, like you use just a homemade drill or to poke a hole to the wall. But if you make that drill bigger and started to dig on the ground, you just keep digging deeper. So in the beginning, it was just for the fun of it. I want to dig deeper, what is inside, right? As you dig deeper and you spread around, you dig all over the world, this is what happens. You started to dig, and you move your drilling machine all over the world. At some point, you find that deep in the underground, there are different types of resources for you. The first oil was discovered in Pennsylvania around the late 1800s, and since then, these drilling machines have, as you know, it discovered a much bigger oil reserve somewhere in the Middle East and in many other parts of the world. So before the oil was discovered, the economy of the Middle East was such that people used to, even from Bangladesh, people used to go for Hajj, and they used to donate to the Saudis so that they can take care of the pilgrimage. I mean, the logistics. They did not have the resources to have the logistics, right? Now the oil economy the discovery of oil has changed the economy of that region, and they're now part of the world picture. And not only that, this invention, its impact on the economy has also changed the geopolitics. They're in the world picture, and now the oil and the world economy has a correlation. So it all started with this simple digging deeper, right? Sometimes inventions can be apparently simple. It's not like Einstein writing E = mc squared, but those inventions could have enormous impact on the world, on the economy and the politics. Okay, so now let's come back to E = mc squared. It's telling us that inside matter there is latent energy. And if you can find out a way to release that energy, you could gain enormously. And let's see how that has impacted the world. So once in 1945, we have seen explosions like that. That has changed the face of the economy, and it even shifted the world power, right? Only after the atomic bomb and the nuclear harnessing, U.S. came into the world equation for politics and economics. Before that, for World War II, U.S. was a third world agriculture-based economy, a third world country. Suddenly, they realized this invention of the power of E = mc squared, if you lead that into technology, suddenly they rose up to the world power. Not only economically, it's also politically. So it changed the power axis, and it just started with the E = mc squared. And by 1950, U.S. produced 50% of the world's manufactured goods, and it just forever changed the balance of power, and we are here. Okay, so that means I gave you examples that sometimes simple inventions like a drilling machine can have it changed the geopolitics and the economics, and other times delving deeper into the mysteries of the universe can also have enormous impact. So in other words, inventions at many levels can have potentially enormous impact on the economy and the way we go around it. So for the next few minutes, I will try to give you some hints for the young mind here. What are some of the deepest mysteries of the universe? And later, what are some of the simple things we could possibly invent that can potentially have the transformational impact? So one of the nicest thing about that happened in the last 20 years is that in the past, inventions were in some way kind of random and sometimes driven by the necessity. But in the last 20 or 30 years, we have collectively studied how these things happen. In other words, we are trying to delve into the structure of thought, how inventions happen, and we can now study how we have the mechanics to study how to go beyond that and estimate its impacts. So that's how I listed a number of things, a number of topics for you to think about on a real ground. It's not just for inspirational thing. It's an action item. So these directions of science and potential invention channels are going to change the face of the world by the end of the 21st century. So what are those? And you'll be amazed that from the apparent listing of those topics, it's not really obvious how that could happen, but I'll get to that, or at least I'll try to address that during the question and answer period. So one of the biggest questions scientists continue to ask, what is the origin of the universe? How did it all start? So what was quote unquote, everybody, I get this question all the time, what was before Big Bang? Okay? So that question, let me try to address this question. What does it mean? What was before Big Bang? So Big Bang is something where energy, matter and energy, everything was created, but it's not just matter and energy, but space and time was also, space and time in an integrated fashion was also created there, and matter, energy, space-time together is our entire content of the entity of the universe, right? So if you say, what was before Big Bang, that is an invalid question because time was created there. You are asking what was before Big Bang, right? So that question, scientists cannot answer that question. When you write down the differential equations, you have space variable, time variables, mass, and energy. But then now you cannot, now you cannot write anything because before Big Bang there was no time, there was no space, so you cannot ask this question: where did the universe come from? That question also becomes invalid. But this is one of the biggest challenges that was there some entity. You could think space-time, matter, and energy, that particular entity is deeper than space-time and matter and energy. If we can, I mean, there are many ideas along that line that there are more fundamental realities to what is real, and then you could find a way to recreate the universe and get something out of it. So this is one of the key questions. I mean, probably this is the most bold question human being has ever asked. Where did everything come from? But now think about it the other way around, that we know with the present content of knowledge that all the entities are matter, energy, and space-time. So in the concrete sense, everything is made up of particles in some way, bosons and fermions. So the bosons are the force carriers and the fermions are the matter, right? So now you could think that, okay, my brain and the human body, everything is just a collection of particles. My brain is a collection of particles, just n number of particles, 10 to the 25 number of particles. Now, the question is, what is amazing is that this collection of particles is asking the question how all the collections of particles came into being, right? So now, in other words, how inanimate matter develops this self-awareness, self-consciousness. So how life is created out of this quantum soup of particles. So if you look at physics in a more deeper way, let's say the electrons in an atom, they're described by only 4 quantum numbers. Now if you put together all the particles, then you're collecting a large number of quantum numbers. So a complete mathematical description in principle should be there to define life as a function of all those quantum numbers, how these quantum numbers arrange and rearrange. But what is amazing in probably last 20, 30 years, scientists have realized that this reductionist approach, that it's failing not just, you don't even have to come all the way to describe consciousness or life, it fails way before that. When you put together particles that at some level, when the particles interact, this quantum number description falls apart. There is an emergent property. There is a collective property of the particle that cannot be traced back into the individual particles, cannot be ascribed to some combination of the quantum numbers. So this type of idea of emergence is indicating in different ways that maybe our theories are incomplete. There are many indications that could be the case. For example, in quantum mechanics, you have the non-local effect that the particles far apart, if they are entangled, there is an instantaneous correlation. But on the other hand, as you know, relativity tells you cannot send a signal faster than light. So then if they're instantaneously correlated, then it's violating relativity. So the connection between quantum mechanics and relativity continues to be a mystery. And I believe solving this fundamental problem will lead to require enormous amount of innovative, creative, and original thinking. And this will lead to enormous revolution in technology, because it's intimately connected to information, the deep nature of information, how things work. Okay? So not only that, it will also, the idea is how to understand complexity out of origin, and then how to describe mind. And as I started with the anthropological question, it's only human beings who ask these why questions. It's only human brain that has this self-searching mind. So what is the description of a self-searching mind in terms of the quantum numbers of the particles? So that's a remarkable direction to pursue. So now you can see that just as individual particles form a larger structure, larger organism, and then the organism has emergent property, collective property that cannot be traced to the quantum numbers. Similarly, individuals form society, right? So the one analogy would be the microscopics of the economics and the macroscopic aspect of the economics. For example, if someone gives me $10, $10, Dhaka, then it's hard to predict how I'm going to use that $10, right? But if someone gives $10 billion to 1 billion people, then it's more predictive. You could predict that how, given the economy of the region, you could predict its evolution, how that money will be spent. So then at individual level, there is a quantum uncertainty. I don't know how am I going to use, but as you scale up the system, then it becomes more predictable. So in other words, the structure of economics and social organization, similarly, the individual behavior and collective social behavior at the governments or organization, MCCI is organization, the large number of particles, in this case human beings, their behavior sometimes become predictive, even though the individuals have that quantum-like uncertainty, right? So in other words, there are many analogies that go parallel with the deeper aspects of physics and how human beings interact, sociology and psychological thing. And there are cycles of history, right? And as I was saying, and then this, even though you understand micro and macroeconomics in great detail, you have all those equations, you can model those differential equations. There are cycles in economics, and then there are also lack of predictability in the macroscopic system. Suddenly you'll have a Great Depression, right? It's hard to predict that, or in the weather prediction, the climate modeling. Okay, so if you look at that, in how what are the channels for innovation through this analogy, that the universe has some sort of self-similarity. The structure of the atom, the electrons going around the nucleus, it's very similar in some way. In apparent sense, it's like the solar system. The planets go around the sun. Again, in a higher, you go even macroscopic order, the stars in a galaxy are going around the black hole that is in the center of the galaxy. So universe, from the tiniest microscopic thing, there are apparent self-similarity. Just as human society, the cycles of economics or cycles of history and individual to society. So a future direction for innovation is to how to learn in both directions. Can we take the physics, quantum physics systems or the astrophysical systems and model the sociological and economic systems. Or we can also learn from the sociological, psychological system, anthropological system, and apply those ideas also to the quantum world. In fact, some of the deepest ideas in quantum physics, quantum field theory, like spontaneously broken symmetry, those came from the macroscopic world, how the water fizzes to ice. There is a broken symmetry, and it turns out you can apply that broken symmetry idea to understand the early universe, how forces were unified or how the forces became distinct. So this would be a pathway for future innovation, thinking along these lines. So let me skip that. So I already mentioned that. The understanding the universe is because of that self-similarity of ideas and concepts and self-organization, these are all interconnected. So the future 21st, later, or 22nd century, scientists and innovators will utilize these ideas through the cross-disciplinary thing. Okay, so now let me give you a concrete example that without solving any of those things, I'm posing very hard questions. How life, what is the meaning of life in some sense? How is that connected to Big Bang? So now, you might wonder that we may not get anywhere close in another 5,000 years. So what is the short-term short-range outcome in some way? So I'll give you some examples. So even that will show you, even though we did not, or we're not anywhere close to solving those things, the human effort, human courage and curiosity to trying to address those things have already impacted our society in an enormous way. One such example is that these two physics labs, CERN and SLAC at Stanford, they were trying to figure out how to share data, right? So the experiments are going on in different labs. I want to discuss that with my colleague in a short exchange. So in trying to solve that thing, these labs, what do these labs do? They try to find particles, they try to understand interactions, they try to understand the condition that happened near Big Bang, right? So the address, the question they try to address is something like that. And in trying to do that, they discovered things. This is how the World Wide Web was discovered, because this is, I mean, you take advantage of the internet, you connect the computers, and you share your data. So this was to facilitate physics research by scientists who were in the physics labs. They were trying to solve the problem of the universe, but they ended up creating the World Wide Web. And then how did that help us? Now, you know, it transformed the way we do trade, commerce, science, socialization, activism, everything. You could blame Arab Spring to the internet, right? So, but its origin is two groups of physicists trying to understand the nature of the universe. So all these things are interconnected, and this has tremendously, as in the past, it will continue to happen if you take lessons from this history, that the innovation in one field, trying to ask these fundamental questions, its impact goes beyond that. Okay, so so far what I was presenting based on history, that how innovations, economics, social interaction, political landscape, these are all interconnected, and we have seen in the last 100 or 200 years that this is emerging even at a faster rate. So that's why it's now possible to do research on how to innovate. In the past, people used to just innovate, but now you can try to study the pattern, how people thought, how people worked. So now we're trying to understand the mechanism, quote-unquote, mechanism behind the human innovation, both individual and collective sense. So that means there is a second-order effect to take advantage of. In the next half of the century, this will tremendously accelerate the process of innovation. Okay, so now I'm going to list a few things, as I said, the concrete ideas that you might take home today and think along that line. that are believed to be the concrete pathways for innovations in this century. So the physics part I sort of covered. I'm not going to elaborate that on further, but these ideas, again, the organization, self-organization of matter from atoms and molecules, some of the key questions for the innovators in this century is, can we program matter? Can we make a 3D-dimensional matter, piece of material that has a desired property? In other words, I want something to be an electrical conductor. It's a superconductor, but it also is transparent in light. Light can go through it. So we can say that this is what I want. Then can we compute the electrons and atomic wave functions and position in some way? And then we have a machine that will put all the atoms one by one in places to generate that macroscopic property we want. Now we just do that, depend on nature. Whatever material is there, we process it and refine it. But can we build up atom by atom? So that's programmable matter or 3D atomic printing. We just make a material with all the design properties. And of course, green chemistry, energy efficiency is in materials, so it comes under that. Can we make a superconductor, design a superconductor that will work at room temperature? So we could use that in my device to reduce energy consumption. Nanomedicine, can we, for example, can we develop a test strip and a device that will simultaneously check for 1,000 diseases, 1,000 disorders in the body, and give you a result in a few seconds. So you have every day you can screen what is coming, how as you age, what are the things to check for, and can we also make that cheaper so that everyone can have health. Yeah, so of course, genetic engineering, and another example would be the person-specific drug design, right? So individuals, when you are taking paracetamol or Tylenol, it's not designed to adapt to the specific body chemistry you have. But can we design a paracetamol that will be person-specific? It will not create side effect because it will do its job, but it will not mess up other things in the body. So you will have a complete profile of your biochemistry in a chip, and then the drug, it will select the right type of paracetamol for you so that it just works, it targets one type of, it has a target-specific drug. So can we do that? And all these things you can see that these are, again, as you try to microscopically tailor property, you have to understand the quantum nature of these things because the properties add up, they build up. So that's why the understanding of the quantum nature of the universe is also critical in developing this thing. And the ultimate question in this thing, can we design a synthetic, can we do synthetic biology? Can we design a synthetic life? Can we grow life in a petri dish? Of course, that will require understanding of all that aspects of things. So the first term I'm saying, can we program matter with specific property? But if we want to design life on a petri dish, I have to understand life. So the understanding comes together. Once we understand the emergence and self-searching mind, chemistry behind that self-searching mind, we might be able to design life. So another thing is in between these things, we are also in going from here to there or the other way around. We have to think how to transfer information because it's all about communication, right? So these areas like artificial intelligence, augmented reality, cloud computing, intelligent traffic. Intelligent traffic is quite important, relevant for this part of the world. Can we have all the cars in Dhaka city have a chip, so every car knows what every other car is doing, and you don't need a driver, it's automated, so there is no traffic jam, right? So we have to think about how to do intelligent traffic design. So this is going to be a good very region-specific topic for the youth here. Think about how to solve the traffic jam by designing this network of GPS. So in all these things, again, the quantum and the matter is connected, and then we have seen, we go through the ages of innovations. Like 50 years back, we used to say that it's electronic age. Then we would say, we're into the computer age. Now we are saying that the computers are talking to each other. We should say, we should call it information age. Right now we're going through the information age. So now I will try to project the future, what is coming 50 years down the line, what sort of thing we can project. So we are going through an IT revolution, and many scientists and engineers and thinkers, including myself, believe that we are heading toward a quantum information age. So in the IT revolution case, we are making use of this silicon-based semiconductor chips and fiber optics and all of that. But although you need quantum mechanics to understand these things, they are not directly using quantum information. Although they are performing according to the rules of quantum mechanics at a different level. But we want to make use of this non-local thing that beats relativity, that you want to transfer information faster than light. Quantum mechanics already guaranteed you that it's possible, even though it violates relativity, and theoretical physicists are still struggling to figure out why that is so. But quantum non-locality is more real than relativity, because quantum non-locality came from experiments and relativity came from Einstein's brain idea, right? So what is that quantum information age like, and what can it do for us? So in the present day electronics, digital electronics, or any computer or iPhone you run, it's based on the Boolean logic. Boolean logic, for the broad audience, it's just the everyday logic. When you say, oh, this is logical, that's you're applying Boolean logic. In the Boolean logic sense, the present-day computers work in a way that you have a up state and down state, or a 0 or 1 state. So if you say, if you apply logic gates, if you apply some logical operation, let's say not 0, then you'll get 1. Or if you apply not 1, you'll get 0. So it is do-valued thing, right? In the quantum case, you can have, for example, take advantage of the electron spin, which is a purely quantum object, and you can build a qubit. In the quantum case, you can have superposition of these two states. The superposition is not allowed in the present-day computers. So now you can see that one obvious possibility is that you can store a lot of information there, or do a faster processing. Of course, it depends on many other details. So in other words, it's allowing you to not only to do something faster, and it's better. What is more exciting to scientists, at least, is that it's allowing you to do something that is not possible, not at all possible in a classical computer, the computer you run. In other words, for example, if you take the square root of NOT operation, NOT, if you take NOT operation on 0, you go to 1. But in the quantum computer case, you can see there is a square root of NOT operation that has no meaning in classical thing. We cannot, in a everyday logic, we think that is impossible. But in a quantum logic, that is possible, that the state is a combination of the two. It exists in both states, right? So in other words, so that is critical, that we can do, you can expand our logical set of logic. So that means, what is the future for that sort of quantum information age? So I'll give you one example. Let's say you make a holographic robot. Let's say you make a robot, run it with your fastest computer or whatever you have. It is a classical computer, and the robot will always behave rationally. You cannot make it behave irrationally. Your mother might be behaving irrationally, or your partner might be behaving irrationally. But quantum computers would allow you to create a holographic robot to at least behave irrationally in certain ways. So in other words, you can create a virtual friend who can have emotional relationship with you. And then that's something you cannot immediately predict because the quantum logic is not the logic you think about, right? So in the quantum information age, you can create virtual reality and have emotional relationship with them. So these are all exciting things. So I don't want to take too much time, but to enter that exciting information, quantum information, topological quantum information age, we need new Marie Curie, new Edisons. Some breakthrough has to happen. So let's try to predict where are they. So we need to break the barriers of innovation. Although those are quantum physicists' idea, there are many barriers to break before we actually realize them, including my thing, Weil fermion, and all of that stuff. So who are those people who will have that breakthrough? So I have a prediction. Actually, I know who are these people. So here is one. Here is another one. Here is yet another one. And there is good reason to believe why these kids are the next Marie Curie or Thomas Alva Edison. Why do I believe that? And I do mean it, right? The tiger of Asia, right? The advances in women education and empowerment is remarkable in this country. And Bangladeshi youths are now on top of Mount Everest. And a young boy, Mustafiz, broke world record in his first international match. So Math Olympiad team has excelled over our neighbors. So our youth are proving their competence at the world stage. It's beginning to happen. This is a very, very exciting time. And Bangladesh is emerging in the 21st century, the frontier. And I believe the day is not far that we will be leading the civilization, the world with those civilizational forces to the 22nd century. So I think we are there. Thank you. So that concludes my presentation.
So thank you very, very much, Professor Zahid Hassan of Princeton University. Now we know why MCCI considered it most appropriate to present before 500 plus young people with innovative minds a role model in Professor Zahid Hassan. I dare not summarize anything, but I'd only say that the expose that he has made is so profound and yet so understandable. Even a novice like me could understand that the why question is the most important, and not only in scientific and technological advancement, but also in philosophy and anthropology and economics. And his projection of the younger people of Bangladesh to be leading the world in many respects based on what is happening in the world. The Bangladesh has captured the imagination and attention of the world, not only in terms of the 4 or 5 counts that Professor Hassan had enlisted, but also in terms of, let us say, aspects which bother us. Safety. Many people think it's not a safe country, but ask the Gallup poll, 150-year-old Gallup organization of the United States. It lists Bangladesh as the 6th safest country in the world, ahead of US and many other countries. If you ask Boston Consulting Group, they tell you, based on a research, that there are 10 million people in Bangladesh who earn more than $5,000 a year and are amongst the most serious and eager purchasers of good quality goods and services. Why this is told? It is told because therein lies the potential for investment in Bangladesh to cater to this market. I don't think I'll take more time. I'll now leave Professor Hassan to the young minds from whom we expect searching questions on innovation. Why innovation and how do we go? Okay, the floor is open for the young men and women to ask Professor Zahid Hassan. I think we have a large number of microphones, so whoever will indicate that she or he has a question, the microphone will reach you. Please show up. Okay. Do you want to? I think we would like to know your name and then the question.
Dear sir, I'm Mahfuz Rahman, and it is very we are very grateful to listen your profound, encouraging and knowledgeable presentation. Sir, I have basically two questions. The first question is, you saw that by the properties of quantum entanglement, we can communicate through others by faster than light. So what's the basic obstacle to make it applicable, the quantum entanglement? This is my first question. And the second question was, sir, at the time of the Big Bang, the universe expand faster than light expansion, which is called the inflation. Sir, my question was at the starting of the Big Bang, the four forces, basic forces was unified. So the force forced themselves to combine the particle together. So which force forced them to keep apart, to keep expand? That was my second question. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so the first question, let me explain it a little bit. The quantum information age I was trying to indicate to, he's asking, what are the barriers? So the biggest barrier is, as some of you know, that if you, let's say, electron spin it is carrying the quantum information, and then when you try to transfer this spin to a different location because of the environment, it can dephase. So it's called decoherence. So the lack of coherence is what is limiting a conventional quantum computer, although some people claim that they have a qubit that's working at a small scale. So it turns out this gives me also the opportunity, the field I work on. So now there is another method of overcoming that. If this, instead of spin, if you use a topological particle like Majorana particle or Weyl particle, so these particles are not fundamental in a conventional sense. They're quasi-particle, so they're born out of the environment. Right? So a quasi-particle is born out of the environment. So when you move them through the environment, they do not dephase. They are topologically protected. So the very research I'm doing is finding ways to break out of that barrier so that we can enter the quantum information age. So in other words, we are taking advantage. We are fooling the environment and telling that it's a new quasi-particle, say a Majorana particle or a Majorana-Weyl particle. So this particle can carry the quantum information without dephasing, but it's not a fundamental particle that entered a medium, because when we make a circuit or electronics, we have to enter the medium. I'm using the medium itself to generate a particle disturbance in the system, a quasi-particle. If that becomes that is a topological quasi-particle, it can do the quantum computing. In fact, people who are deeply into my type of research, they think this is very, very exciting, because this is we are working. We are using topological quantum physics to break out of that barrier. Okay, and then you had the second question about the fundamental forces being unified near the Big Bang and what made them different. So it's actually part of the nature. We did not design the universe that way. As the universe was hotter and hotter, so you can think of it in terms of as the atom and the solar system look the same. Similarly, as you approach Big Bang, you can also understand by looking at macroscopic everyday objects around you. As you take water, vapor, or gas, you try to cool, then it becomes liquid, and then when you cool the liquid further, it becomes crystal, you become ice. So then the isotropy of space, that symmetry is broken. Now you have a crystalline pattern. So that pattern is different from empty space. Empty space, if you rotate some in all directions, it looks the same. So universe behave just like, very much like the cooling of water and freezing of water into ice as you approach Big Bang. So then when as you come out of the Big Bang, because as the universe cools, then the isotropy of space disappears. So the symmetries are broken, and that distinguishes different forces. That is the present understanding of the physicists in a broader sense.
Okay, who will go next? Please identify yourself and also the university you come from. Please, who is there?
Good evening. I'm Pratasha from Dhaka University Physics Department. My question is, as we know, you have invented a particle tinier than electron. Do you think it's possible to make it be invented any other tinier than that?
Yes, that's a very good question. So, it depends on the microscope you build. So there is nothing called a fundamental particle. We cannot think that leptons and quarks are the fundamental particle. They're fundamental with respect to the machines we have, the microscope we have. If we have an optical microscope, we can see the structures of the cell, but a particle accelerator in CERN or Stanford, it's a more powerful microscope. It can see shorter distances, details, right? So with the most powerful particle accelerators, these accelerators behave like microscopes. We think that the particles we describe fundamental, they are not divisible. But then no one can guarantee that if you build an accelerator, meaning that you have a much more powerful microscope in matter, the electron and the quarks will not be composed of even tinier particles. In fact, there are theoretical ideas along that line. For example, string theory. In string theory, everything is made up, universe is made up of higher dimensional strings. And these vibrations in the strings are manifestations of what we call fundamental particles. But those fundamental particles are really, in some way, composite or quasi-particles. So yes, the short answer is that, yes, there are ideas, theoretical ideas, that maybe there are more fundamental particles called preons, for example, one type of fundamental particles. And it's just that we do not have powerful enough accelerators to prove or disprove where preons could exist or not. It's similar to the idea, there are more wild ideas, like that we are confined inside the universe. Maybe inside the electron there is an universe. And then inside that universe there is an electron, and inside that electron there is an universe. You can always come up with these ideas, and in physics or science, unless and until we can really have a concrete experimental evidence, those things remain theory, like string theories and many other ideas are there. So these ideas are fascinating, and I do believe as we progress, we have to make more inventions to build more powerful accelerators, to approach the interesting regime near Big Bang. We need accelerators that has to have, this is one of the reasons I did not go into string theory, is that we need accelerators that has to be bigger than the solar system. I understand economics and politics. No government, I can pass that through Senate or Congress to build an accelerator bigger than the solar system, right? So then I look at quasi-particles not in the fundamental direction, in the complexity direction, because ultimately I want to understand this self-searching mind. So the complexity is another frontier.
Okay, thank you. I have another one to pop up. I think that the maximum velocity we can find, that the speed of light. So we all are moving less than the speed of light, and we are moving forward in case of time. that is, our time is moving forward, and we are going less than the speed of light. So if we can cross the speed of the light, then is it possible to go to the past like that, to moving my time backward?
Right. Many of these things exist, and they're valid in as mathematical models. As I said, there can be an entire universe inside the electron, and inside the electron there is that universe. There is another electron. There is a universe inside that. Similarly, these ideas, many of these things are possible mathematically or model-wise, but until and unless we have experimental way of doing that, we don't make a distinction out of the philosophers, right? The Greek philosophers. So those would be considered ideas and philosophies, not pure science. Yes, I mean, mathematically, you can model those things consistently. Yeah, the short answer is yes. But how to explore that, how to prove or disprove that, we don't know yet. We don't have the technology. And we don't have the technology because we don't have all the resources of the world. As I said, we cannot build this. So the next big accelerator, bigger than the solar system.
Someone here in the middle.
Thank you. Me, Mr. Alamin from Jahangir University. Is there any energy latent in your invented particle, that is fermion? And is there any energy latent, then how is it related to Einstein mass and energy correlation equal to mc square, since your invented particle fermion is massless?
Yes, you know, while fermion is not the only massless particle, maybe to some of the Bangladeshis, but you know, the light quantum is photon. Photon is also massless. So photon has energy and momentum, but no mass, but it's spin 1. It's a boson. So if you like, the light quantum photon is, you can call it photon boson or something like that. So while fermion is a quasi-particle, and it doesn't move at the speed of light. It's a collection of electrons. They rearrange themselves in some way that the low energy excitations behave like light moving with smaller velocity, because light doesn't have mass, right? So this is one way to think about that. The other thing is it's not a boson like the massless light particle. It's a fermion. It's spin half. So that's why it could potentially be interesting for electronics or spintronics or computing, because its spin is 1/2. The light has its own interesting thing. Light is also massless particle. So while fermion is also a massless particle, but it's spin half particle. Light is spin 1. So it's boson versus fermion. Yeah, it's just an energy packet like light, but moving at a speed slower than light inside a crystal.
The lady here on the right-hand side, please.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm Mohammad Raid bin Wahed, and I'm studying computer science and engineering at Bragg University. I have 2 questions for you. I'm right here.
Yeah.
I understand how Boolean computers, that is how traditional computers work, but I'm a bit confused as to how a quantum computer would fundamentally work. As you said yourself, that they can be in both the 0 state and the 1 state simultaneously. So I just want to know briefly how it might do computation.
Yeah,
that's question. Shall I let you?
Yeah,
respond?
you can mention all the questions together.
All right. So that's question number 1. Just principally wanting to know how a quantum computer would fundamentally work. My second question is, you mentioned in your speech that during quantum entanglement, relativity, and I'm assuming you're talking about special relativity, does not hold anymore. So could you explain how it doesn't hold as well?
Yeah,
Thank you.
The answer to that second question, nobody knows. If you ask the frontline physicists why quantum non-locality doesn't work with special relativity, nobody knows. This is one of the mysteries of physics. It's a frontline research area of physics. In some way, it's similar. It's probably less challenging, but it's similar to not having a quantum theory of gravity, that why we do not have a low-dimensional unified theory that, that gives a quantum version of the gravity, how gravitational force and quantum non-locality work together. So in the quantum computer case, there are the measurement schemes. So in the topological quantum computing case, it's probably easier. As you exchange particles, they pick up phase. They're non-abelian. As you braid them, as you exchange particles, there is a non-abelian exchange statistics. So that the measurement process allows you to, different levels of measurements give you the readouts, input and the readouts as you exchange particles. The phase is encoded in that exchange. So you have to physically exchange, braid it. It's different, the measurement, the computing process is very different from the classical process. It's called braiding, non-abelian braiding.
Could you explain this a bit more?
Yeah,
no, I think, please, we'll go to another person.
We can have more discussion. It gets more technical. I need the PowerPoint.
Can somebody else ask? Yeah, this young lady here on the right-hand side, please give the microphone to her. Here.
Thank you. I am Monam Islam from Black University. I have a question on search mind and innovations. I believe that, yes, the students of Bangladesh and the people of Bangladesh are very innovative and energetic, and so for this we need research, right, to find out our questions. So the students and the researchers of Bangladesh, what we face is the lack of funding for the research, as well as lack of up-to-date technology and education that we need to innovate or to have research on some specified subjects or technologies. This is my one question, and another question is, we the girls face social barriers that, no, you can't do that because you are a girl and you have to maintain all the social responsibilities, then you can go to, after maintaining all those, then you can go to the research field or anything else. Thank you. So how can we overcome these to address problems?
Right. Okay. So the first question is about the lack of resources and infrastructure is a barrier for innovation, in pushing innovation into the 21st century from this part of the world, right? So that a number of groups are working to build bridges between Western world and this part of the world. So this will facilitate nucleation of research center, I guess in a scale of 10 to 20 years. In fact, part of the purpose of my visit is how to do that. So I'm dreaming, at this point it's just a dream. How can I set up 5 Institute for Advanced Studies in Bangladesh to do interdisciplinary research? Without those institutes, it's not easy to facilitate collaboration with the Western world, right? So once we have that platform built up, innovation lab. In fact, this similar idea will be described later. So in fact, this is one of the things I'm excited about working with MCCI, that they're taking initiatives along that line. So there is more work to be done. But the most important thing, the reason I believe that the next Madame Curie will be come out of this area has to do with the fact that when I was a kid here, I used to play cricket in Abahani Mat or Dhanmandi Mat, and I never felt any of my colleagues, people I'm playing soccer with, I never felt I'm anything special. So that gave me, I keep living with a big puzzle that if I'm not special, then why every one of us from this part of the world is not achieving, I don't think I achieved a lot, but at least almost all of you here has the potential to achieve at a similar level. So this is a big puzzle to me, and I'm also working with other institutions and organizations how to create that opportunity for the future. So number one is that we do not lack the talent pool. I give you a concrete example of that. It's not just a few words. Think about 100 years back, we had even less resources, but who invented radio that requires a lab? 100 years ago, Jagadish Chandra Bose invented radio. That's way before any of us tried to do anything. Even Dhaka University was formed. So if you argue that you need to go to CERN or Stanford or Princeton to invent radio, Bose was in Bikrampur or somewhere around here. How did he invent radio? And how did Satyen Bose, being in Dhaka University, invented this particle? Sometimes I tell my colleagues, half of the particles of the universe are named after a Bangladeshi person. Do you guys know that? Because half of the particles of the universe are fermions, the other half are bosons. How did that happen in this land with no infrastructure, nothing? So we do not lack talent pool, and this is why I believe the next Madam Kuri will come from here. We're all working together on this.
Young people, sorry, I'll take a minute from your time to ask a question. I know I'm not a student in age, but I'm a student in mind. I have to learn a lot of things. Professor Zaid Hassan, you have spoken about biology. I suppose you are talking about robotics, that there will be creatures fully predictable, no uncertainty. That means they will not have a mind and a heart. What will then happen to the young people who would like to exchange hearts, etc., etc.?
Well, we'll do artificial, virtual transplant, right?
Yeah. But what will happen to the real-life romances?
Yeah, well, I mean, real life will go beyond that. It will innovate further. It will create rationally, irrational mind. So it will create the next generation of virtual things. Yeah.
Limited to one question. Only one at a time. One question, one person. Rush one of the microphones.
Sir, I'm Masoom from Buet. I'm an undergrad researcher, and last year I was doing a research on quantum entanglement with one of my professors. And I found it intriguingly difficult to work on it. The knowledge is very limited, and there is absolutely no resource in our country or anywhere I know that the kind of resource that you have in Princeton. So is there any way that we can collaborate with you,
yes,
or the people who have the resource?
Yes, this is again part of my visit. I met with the Vice Chancellor of Dhaka University and Board of Trustee at North-South and all these things. I'm trying to think how I can bridge this gap to the extent I can, and also how I can help nucleate some centers of advanced studies so that this exchange is facilitated. At this point, it's kind of random one-to-one thing, but it requires a platform and formal exchange structure. This is just at this point, I think it's within our reach. It can be set up in 5 years. Good news is I did not see any significant barrier. It's just that a few of us over there find a way to connect to a platform here. And I can promise you it will be happening in the next few years. So stay tuned.
Thank you, sir.
Why don't you take the microphone back?
Hello, sir.
Yes. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm Bappi. I'm from Ruet. আমি বাংলায় বলতে যাচ্ছি আমার প্রশ্নটা।
Sure.
No problem.
Yes.
আপনি কিছুক্ষণ আগে বলেছিলেন যে আমাদের যে মহাবিশ্ব বিগ ব্যাং এর আগে সময় বলে কিছু ছিল না, তো বিগ ব্যাং এর পরে পদার্থ তৈরি হয়েছে। তো আমার প্রশ্নটা হচ্ছে যে বিগ ব্যাং এর পূর্বে যে কণা ছিল যাদের কলিউশনের ফলে বিগ ব্যাং হয়েছে, তো তাদের শেপটা কি ছিল? আমরা যদি সময় বিবেচনা করি মানে বর্তমান জগতে 1D 2D and 3D, বাট আমি জানতে চাচ্ছি যে সেই সময়ে শেপটা কি ছিল? 1D 2D or 3D or 4D or 5D? What was the shape?
Well, this is again speculative thing. There is no experimental. In fact, that's another reason I moved out of quantum cosmology, because I want to. When I was studying cosmology in a serious way, one of the challenges I faced that my other experimental colleagues, they can simulate whatever they are doing in their lab, but the problem with Big Bang research, I cannot create a universe in my lab. So I cannot watch what was happening, and it's always mystified within theory. So the short answer is that the true reality, what happened before Big Bang, it's not known in a concrete sense, but I can share one perspective from my colleague Paul Steinhardt, who believes that these brains, these higher, it's similar to that higher dimensional strings and brains, they intersected, and that intersection, that this one-dimensional time emerged, and that's how the universe started. But then this led to multiverses. It led to many, many different universes. So there are all these parallel universes going on. But then they are causally disconnected. In other words, the information exchange is not possible. So that makes his theory safe, because I cannot prove him wrong. If something is causally disconnected, it's like a ghost story. There is a ghost out there, but you cannot shoot it. So I want something that I can shoot and nail it down. Okay?
We have time for one last question, please.
Assalamu alaikum. I am Shishir Bonik from North-South University, ECE department. Sir, my question is to you. How your massless particles show the path of innovation in the electronics development?
Okay, so Weil fermion is not the only massless particle. For example, if you look at graphene, it has Dirac fermion or topological insulators. It also has massless Dirac fermion. So what is the progression? In graphene, the Dirac fermion is not protected. As it moves, it can scatter easily. The progress from graphene to topological insulators, that's something I heavily work on, is that now you have a Dirac fermion. This is also massless, but it's helical. Its spin and momentum is locked, so that it cannot backscatter. It can move in one direction without scattering, right? But it's in two dimensions. That fermion, that particle, only can move in two dimensions. The Weil fermion, interesting thing, that we wanted to find a particle that can live in three dimensions and also do something similar. It cannot backscatter. So if you apply a magnetic field, this is called chiral anomaly in quantum field theory. If you apply a magnetic field, a Weil fermion, then it cannot backscatter. So that way, it will keep moving forward without any backscattering. So if you draw the current, that current is dissipationless. Or on the surface of a Weil fermion compound, you have something called Fermi arc, and this Fermi arc is also backscattering free. So if you draw current, it doesn't, electron doesn't come, when you try to draw a current through the wire, I'm now speaking for the broader audience, as the electrons are moving, it will scatter back, and that creates the resistivity in the wire, right? And the wire heats up. So that's how you get energy dissipation. That's eventually why you pay the energy bill, you pay the electric bill. So the idea of this Dirac fermion or the Weil fermion, these massless particles, is that you can transport that particle through the wire and it will not backscatter. So if it doesn't backscatter, then the current will be dissipationless. So then it will not heat up the wire, and it will also, its mobility is higher, it will move faster, so it will transfer information faster. It translates to making a device that will be faster. Your computer can, if you can make that into technology, your computer will work faster. Not only that, you'll save energy. You'll charge, you don't have to charge your iPhone every few hours. You charge it once, it will stay operating for a couple of days or months or years. So that is the eventual advantage. It's not just file fermion, also for topological fermions. So, at this stage, this is all physics. We first have to prove that they exist. Before that, they just existed in theory, like multiverse or string theory and other things. So now, in terms of, now we have experimental reality. In going from experiment to technology, it takes time. These days, we mostly use silicon-based or gallium arsenide-based technology, right? So if you look at when silicon was discovered, or silicon was understood based on quantum mechanics, to an actual working device that's in your pocket, it's 50 years. So it takes time to go from physics to a device. So we are still at the physics stage. Like in the last part of the century, in the first part of the century, physicists were trying to figure out how quantum mechanics work. What is the quantum property of matter? That led to the identification of silicon being a semiconductor. And then the transistor was built out of that. And then the transistors were there in the 20s and 30s, but the Silicon Valley and the technology in California, it's in the 60s and 70s. So it takes time, and then now the challenge is even higher, because now you have to beat the silicon technology, which is already a multi-trillion-dollar industry. But once you can find particles and materials that can perform in a qualitatively new way, then you could build new type of computers. So that is the vision for the future that the quantum information age will build upon. We are just at this point, it's like we're discovering uncertainty law or deep Broglie wavelength and the early rules of the game, quantum mechanics. In this century, the physics is now dominated by topological physics. We're discovering this topological invariance, how topology works, so that this would be the principle of applied electronics or computing or information 50, 100 years down the line.
Well, now, all good things of life, in fact, best things of life also have to come to an end, but it's only a pause. Before I give the microphone to MCCI for their concluding remarks, I would like to make a remark for Professor Hassan. First of all, thank you very much, the young people, for asking good questions, searching questions. I would like to remain the optimist that I am. Hope springs eternal in human breast. Man never is, but always to be blessed. The optimism would also lead to a question. You have Professor Hassan, Zahid Hassan, raised the perennial question, eternal question in economics. Scarcity of resources and unlimited ends to meet with the scarce resources. We in Bangladesh have this problem, perhaps more than many other countries. Developed countries invest 4-5% of their GDP into research and development. We have so much of paucity of resources, we cannot invest more than 2.5% of our GDP in education, in whole education. So we have a problem. Can we then expect from you and from this tremendous scientific advancement that our brilliant, young, inquisitive minds will be able to take advantage of knowledge frontiers developed in other countries, and as you say, integrated world? Can they obtain, if they do the right type of hard work, obtain the secrets of scientific innovation and advancement for improving the life living towards even more prosperity of Bangladesh. I would like at this stage to thank Professor MZ Hassan most profusely on your behalf and on behalf of MCCI, and we would like to give the most thunderous applause for him. Thank you very much. We are really obliged. We are really grateful to you.
No, I'm fine. Thank you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Akhtar Mutin Chaudhry, on behalf of Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce and Industry, will announce the concept of Future Lab, a unique initiative of MCCI.
The Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce and Industry believes that the best equipped laboratory in the world is in here. And the most powerful computer is there too. And the laboratory and the computer, they're fueled by curiosity and enthusiasm. And that is why it is my great pleasure today to introduce and to announce the concept of Future Lab. Future Lab, a forum sponsored by Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce and Industry, MCCI, is designed to attract talented young minds and to offer them a platform to share innovative ideas and connect with the business world. A groundbreaking idea can come at any age and at any point in life. However, what is often lacking is an incubator for such ideas to fertilize and bloom into business startups. Through Future Lab, MCCI envisions cultivating the next generation of entrepreneurs by providing a structured platform where they can test out their business ideas, avail of grooming and mentoring opportunities from business leaders, and get access to seed funding for promising business propositions. Future Lab will be the vehicle that young people can use to turn their dreams into innovative ideas and ideas into real businesses. This virtual platform will allow the students of schools, colleges, and universities to share their ideas with the top business leaders, moderated and facilitated by internationally acclaimed scientists and technology professionals. We hope this will encourage all to share ideas that they believe could solve problems or address issues with the potential to become a viable business. Future Lab is the platform where the future will be shaped by the brilliant minds of today. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Nasim Munzur will now come to the stage for the presentation of crests. Mr. Nasim Munzur will now present the Youth Dialogue crest to Mr. Zahid Hassan. Mr. Nasim Munzur will now present the Youth Dialogue crest to Mr. Dr. Mohammad Farshuddin. Thank you, Mr. Nasim Munzur. Ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President of Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Anis A. Khan, will now offer a vote of thanks.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's been an absolutely wonderful evening, a wow evening. I will detract from convention and speak about Dr. Zahid at the end. But before that, I have certain duties to perform regarding the staging of this great event. This is the second Youth Dialogue sponsored by the Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and as our very dynamic president, Sayyid Nasim Munzur, said in his opening remarks, last year at our 110th anniversary, we invited the late Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, who came and spoke to people like you, at the ballroom of the Pan Pacific Shunarga Hotel on the 17th of October about this time. It was a brilliant performance. Continuing with that, we were very privileged to invite Dr. Zahid today here, who has been accompanied by his very proud parents sitting right in front and his wife. Sponsors of this event need to be thanked, and they are ACI Limited, Apex Group, then KNF Bangladesh Limited, Incepta Pharmaceuticals, K&Q Bangladesh Limited, Mutual Trust Bank Limited, Picard Bangladesh Limited, and B2P Group. We always have our media here in great numbers, supporting us in every possible way and taking the messages, our messages, to distant corners of the world. So thank you very much, media brothers and sisters. Regarding the staging of this performance tonight, the MCCI committee, led by our president and supported by the Secretary General Farooq Ahmed and his team, has worked very long. It's not very easy to stage such performances, and we have had an absolute smooth and beautiful evening with rapt attention from all the young boys and girls. The vice chancellors of the 19 universities and the senior teachers and the administrative staff of all the universities deserve thanks. And all you boys and girls, you are absolutely brilliant. And as I've watched you on the screens, you look very bright. And in many of you, and most of you, we have those future Madame Curies and all the other brilliant scientists to come. Dr. Farashuddin, we need not speak much of him. He's a giant of a man, eloquent. And today, his moderating skills was par excellence. To the point, absolutely apt and appropriate, sir, and I have been impressed again by your performance, sir. Absolutely very nice. And at the end, Dr. Zahid Hasan, our pride, not even 50, is astride the global stage, and much more to come. And these days, people live to be at least 90, and you come from a place where Einstein worked and died, and I had the fortune also of seeing Einstein's house. And you are our pride out there, and there are many Bangladeshi boys and girls having studied in Princeton, including my own nephew, so we feel very proud. And your presentation was very well prepared, very interesting, very colorful, and I'm sure if the boys and girls have all enjoyed it and they would like to take away a copy, to study more and do more research. And you have planted the seeds of brilliance in the Bangladeshi minds that we already have, but in this hall, we can look forward to many stalwarts to become as famous as you, or more famous than you, because the future is in you. So with these words, before I request you to go to the adjoining hall for dinner, I would request you all to please stand and give a special standing ovation to Dr. Zahid Hasan. Jore, jore, khub jore. ধন্যবাদ সবাইকে সবাইকে এখন নৈশভোজের জন্য আমন্ত্রণ জানানো হচ্ছে পাশের ঘরে প্লিজ অল হ্যাভ এ নাইস ইভিনিং থ্যাংক ইউ
All students are requested to kindly remain seated. First, the guests are requested to proceed to the mezzanine floor for dinner. All students are requested to kindly remain seated. First, the guests are requested to proceed to the mezzanine floor for dinner.